Did Dog the Bounty Hunter really just find Brian Laundrie? So let's get right into this story, but I find this very interesting. So Brian Laundrie, photo from campsite where Dog the Bounty Hunter got tip could be key. So a smiling Brian Laundrie was captured behind bars in a photo with Gabby Petito at a Florida campsite that Dog the Bounty Hunter believes could hold the key to finding the dead woman's fugitive beau. But again, that might sound crazy to those that end up listening to this or stumbling upon this, but just keep listening for the full story. So the image, which was posted on Petito's Instagram page in February, is tagged at the Fort DeSoto Historical Fort, Fox News reported. Laundrie, 23, who is being sought by authorities, hasn't been accused of the Long Island native's death, but is wanted for allegedly using someone's bank card in Wyoming in late August. Now, the reason why they're doing this is because they don't have enough evidence to actually charge him with the actual death, with the potential murder, right? Like, they don't actually have enough evidence to charge him with anything, which is crazy when you really think about it. So in the photo, the groaning man appears to be wearing a t-shirt featuring the Marvel character Hellboy as Petito smiles at him. So Laundrie and Petito later posted a review of the campsite and an account on the Dirt, the DYRT, credited to Gabby and Brian V. So despite the wrong initial for Brian, the profile appeared to have been started and operated by the couple in July. So the couple described the venue as a really nice campground, beautiful area with many hikes and easy walks, the beach, historic sites, really nice camp store, and well-maintained sites. So Online Sleuths noted the irony of the image showing Laundrie grasping bars, which, it makes perfect sense. But again, the interesting part about this whole case, right, is that technically speaking, he has not been charged with anything. Technically speaking, there's no warrant for his arrest because, again, they don't have enough evidence on him that he actually did anything. Now, we all can basically assume that, in this kind of situation, it's like a 99% probability that he actually did it, especially with his actions that he's doing. But again, this is America, and you're only guilty once you're deemed guilty in a court of law. So, wow, he predicted his future, one user wrote. This is exactly where you will end up, another one said. He better get used to that view, a third person added. So Dog the Bounty Hunter said he received a tip that Brian Laundrie and his parents camped together at the DeSoto National Memorial Park in September. So meanwhile, Dwayne, Dog Chapman, told Fox News he received a tip that Laundrie and his parents came together at the Pinellas County site in early September. Now, he claims the family took 2 trips to Fort DeSoto from September 1st to September 3rd and September 6th to 8th. But on the Laundrie's second trip, 3 people came into the park and only 2 left, he said. So they were registered, went through the gate, he said. They're on camera. They were here. So they actually have proof that his parents were actually at the campsite. So Laundrie's parents, Chris and Roberta, have denied any knowledge or of involvement in his disappearance. They actually released a statement basically saying hey, we don't know where he went. We have no clue where he went or where he is, right? And they never made any basically comments to the press at all until, guess what? Dog the Bounty Hunter ended up potentially finding Brian Laundrie, right? Until he basically got that tip and basically discovered, due to this tip, that most likely there's a good chance that if he's not there, he most likely has been there, and they could probably try to find the path that he went or track him down some way, some form, right? It's like the biggest clue within this whole case that they've ever had throughout this whole thing. So Dog, who joined the hunt for Laundrie on Saturday, was seen banging on the door of Laundrie's parents' home in Northport, Florida, before Robert called the cops, despite the fugitive chasers' vow to find their missing son. Now, this is the thing that's like pretty interesting. Because right now we're looking at the map of Florida, right? You know, they're basically doing a little breakdown, right? And you could basically see that the location of this Fort DeSoto Park is actually very close, distance and time-wise, to Laundrie's parents' home in Northport, Florida, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily say this in the diagram, but most likely this is like a 2 to 3 hour drive, right? Just looking on the map, this is probably like a 2 to 3 hour drive. So you could pretty much assume that as of now, this is probably the most likely scenario because one, they can prove that for some reason the parents went camping throughout this whole thing at this campsite, right? Meaning, since they can prove that they went there twice, right? They could pretty much assume that in a high likelihood, a high probability that Brian Laundrie stayed there at minimum, that he stayed there. The only thing is, are they going to be able to track his location down from that, right? Like, is there going to be clues in this Fort DeSoto Park where they can basically go and try to find him? I think that there's actually probably a pretty high chance that they could probably actually do that. But the thing is, you just never know, because a lot of issues with these like types of Fort DeSoto parks is that typically they're pretty off grid. Basically, not a lot of surveillance and all that kind of stuff, right? The only thing that might help them, right, is that apparently there is a pretty well maintained, kind of like a general store for the campground. And also, typically with these campgrounds, not necessarily close, but close enough, there's usually a gas station or gas stations that kind of also act like a general store that potentially, if they have some sort of surveillance, they could probably actually maybe see Brian Laundrie going in there and going out, right? Now, some people might think like, well, I mean, if that's the case, why would no one actually mention anything within these gas stations? The thing is, his appearance could change completely. And by the way, just because someone sees someone's face online doesn't mean that they're going to recognize their face in person, because people just look different, right? Like in person, depending on the situation, people will just look different. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for him to lay low in a campground like the Fort DeSoto Park. But who knows? Will he actually be there? I do not know. But there's just a high likelihood that at the minimum, he was there at some point, meaning that they have a higher chance of tracking him down or tracking basically the route he took or his destination, right? Feel free to give your thoughts in the comment section. If you have any more like details about this to share, feel free to share it in the comment section and all that kind of stuff, right? Stay tuned for more episodes. We cover news content pretty regularly, pretty much every single day. By the way, this is such an interesting case because, again, you got to keep this in mind, right? This is the final note. He still is not charged with anything, right? They still do not have enough evidence to actually charge him with anything, right? This is the weirdest part of this whole situation because, yes, everyone that's looking at this case pretty much assumes that, yeah, Brian Laundrie did it, right? But that 1% out of the 99% likelihood that he did do it basically brings doubt, right? So it's going to be very interesting if they find him and end up, potentially putting charges against them. But the thing is, will they actually even be able to put charges against them? Because as of right now, they haven't revealed that there's enough evidence to even charge him with potentially homicide, right? With potential murder. Like, they don't have enough evidence yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see what actually happens. And feel free to give your thoughts on it. Do you think he's actually going to be charged with it? Do you think they can charge him with it? Because the thing is, regardless of his actions right now, if there's no evidence, like physical evidence, not like behavioral evidence, if there's no physical evidence of him actually committing this crime, how can he be found guilty in the court of law if there's no evidence of him committing a crime? Because they can't even charge him with anything if there's really no evidence, right? Now, they might be able to charge him with something, but can they actually get it to stick if they are not able to produce any evidence as of yet, right? Now, I think that he probably is going to get charged with murder and probably end up going to court, going to potentially jail, all that kind of stuff, right? I think that's the most likely scenario, but will that actually happen? Who knows? But also, it's going to be very interesting because if he does get found, how is that going to affect his parents that, in all likelihood, helped him flee the cops? It's going to be very interesting. And again, feel free to give your thoughts. But isn't it also kind of crazy that potentially this case, this whole situation, this manhunt, is basically being solved by Dog the Bounty Hunter? Just think about that for a second. Props to you, Dog the Bounty Hunter. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40unbox.com.